And we've tracked the emergence, the origin, down to, General Temlong's contribution. But let me introduce, before our next question, a guest from our Sokoto studio, Murtala Rufai, who is from the Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto. Thank you for joining us on the program. All right, can I now take you on straight up? You've had the benefit of listening to the other guests in the studio and outside of it. And some people have said that this could be a failure of intelligence from the beginning, not being able to determine the intention of these people when they came in. And then along the line, when they became radicalized, to borrow the word of Dr. Kabir Adamu, we were again not able to say, okay, this is where these people are headed. Is that what it is for you? A misdiagnosis of the situation and the intentions of the Lakurawa group?
Thank you very much, and good morning once again. My candid opinion about the Lakurawa, they came in as a radical and violent group with, quote and unquote, their own Islamic teachings and also their own Islamic ideology. And the unfortunate thing is that they don't have a very good understanding of the religion. Neither do they have an understanding of what exactly they want to do. As we speak, it is actually a very old threat about that started around 2017, 2018 here in some part of Sokoto states. They operate largely along the border. Today they have their presence and influence in about 10 local government areas across Sokoto and Kebbi states, and they are basically and fundamentally operating along Nigeria-Niger border areas. And the fact of the matter is, the locals will tell you, they preach religion, they preach their own ideology and their own teachings, but they seem not to even understand what they are actually into. And what do we see? We see people from different nationalities. They are mostly not Nigerians. They are from Niger, from Burkina Faso, from Benin, from Mali, and other parts of the Sahel. But the most interesting thing about it is that, again, they don't even understand the language of each other. That is very clear. And in some part of Sokoto where they operate, in these local government areas that I'm going to mention, around Ilela, around Tangaza, Godu, Bale, Benji, Silami, down to some part of KB, particularly in Kangiwa, in Augi, and as we speak today, they are in some part of Argungu local government area. I think this is a threat, and a very fundamental threat, not only to Nigerian security, but to international security, and also it is an international threat. In my own opinion, the fight against these people requires a robust and elaborate operation. We don't actually need to engage in cosmetic security operation in these places because they have entrenched the communities, they have gotten the acceptance on the part of the communities. And what do we see? This same group today have created a large issue of ethnic polarization. The Hausa and the Fulani are increasingly becoming polarized because of the penetration and activities of this particular group. So in my own opinion, right from the onset, 2018, 2017, 2019, they came in as a radical and a violent group, and they've also been unleashing terror on these border communities. Initially, they came with the idea of saving the communities from the activities of the bandits. But what do we see today? They have taken over the ungoverned and undergoverned rural spaces across these two states that I'm talking about. And the expansion is increasing by the day. These are only areas that we know, and I'm very sure there are quite a number of areas that we don't know, that we are areas have submitted in some cases to them, not because they want to do that, but because they feel they don't have alternative governance, meaning these areas are ungoverned and undergoverned. And you can see traditional authorities, even yesterday I was relating with some of them, they said they have no option. You've seen people with military grade weapons. You wake up in the morning, you see them at night, you have no option other than to follow them. And that is what is actually going on in these rural areas. If you take, for instance, Augie local government, you find quite a number of the district. Kwaido taken over by these people, Shafazane taken over. Most of these areas are actually under the control of this terrorist group. And they are, just like I said earlier, non-Nigerians. But the possibility of our local people supporting and joining them and accepting their ideology is actually on the increase, because they collect taxes. Not only collect these taxes, when they impose the taxes, they collect these taxes in cash, and they will also direct you. We are in so location at so point. We want so amount to be submitted or to be given to us. And at the end of the day, you will be the one to take the money. To the extent that in Arugungu, in Augie, in some part of Kangiwa, and even part of Sokoto states, around Tangaza, around Gudu and Silami, they have established a network in which this network serve as their agents. They impose levies on you, 10 heads of your cattle, they will say you pay 200 or 300,000. If you want to pay, we are in Jima Jimi, we are in Giragiri, we are in Raka, they will mention locations. And you see people submitting, collecting this money, paying to them directly. They even know where to see them. They have their agents, the motorcyclists, that actually take individuals to some of these places. So in my own opinion, it is a very serious threat beyond our imagination. And we really need a robust international collaboration. It's not just about the issue of Nigeria anymore. Rather, it is the issue of getting the support of international communities to deal with this particular threat. It is imminent, it is increasing, it is expanding, and rural communities are crying day in, day out about the activities of this group.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rufai, for giving us a detailed insight into the activities of this new terrorist group. We'll be back to you later, but let's come back.
I had wanted him, which he didn't quite respond to, the place of intelligence in all of this. That was my major question to him, and I wanted him to say, was there failure of intelligence, and what role can intelligence play at this point in time? At this point in time.
Okay, but maybe later, maybe let's
failure of intelligence. I think the failure of intelligence. I think. From the beginning of their activities in 2017, 2018, around Tangaza, around Gidamadi, Masallachi, Mogonho, the Nigerian security agencies are fully aware of what is going on, because there was a very serious engagement between these people we call the Lakurawa and our security agencies. I think somewhere around 2019, 2020, they were dislodged from where they were operating and where they were occupying in, I think, somewhere around 2020 or 2021. They left. Now, what do we see? We see the second phase. The second phase is more radical, is more violent, is more entrenched than actually the first phase. And why do we know what we know? We know what we know because they have actually had an encounter with the communities, particularly in some part of Augie, specifically in Mera, where they killed 15 people. And these people that they killed were the local Hausa people that feel they have actually roasted our cattle. We really need to get our cattle back. That is when we know that these people are very powerful. But to be very frank and candid with you, there is actually a security and intelligence gap that needs to be filled urgently. My understanding of the whole issue is that for a very long period of time, we have not been doing what we're supposed to do. And today this threat is imminent, the failure is there, but we really need to act promptly and actively before it is actually getting too late. I know some people will say it is too late, but it is better done now than never. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rufai. It is better done now than never. But,
people to go the way they want to go. So
All right, General Temlong, we thank you very much for your contribution. Let me quickly get back to Sokoto, where we have Dr. Rufai. And I just want to, we've talked a lot about the issues, what led to it, how it emerged, but where do we go from here? Is the solution diplomatic? Is it military, or is it both?
Thank you very much. I think the solution requires both the kinetic and the non-kinetic aspects. At the moment, communities, just like I said earlier, are increasingly becoming polarized with the issue of mistrust and distrust along the border. What is far more important now is the issue of community reconciliation, finding the way of actually bringing these communities together, because it is now reinventing the idea of the farmer-herder dispute or the farmer-herder conflict that we know. The Hausa people along this particular border point accusing fingers on the pastoral communities or the Fulani that they are responsible, they are agents of this terrorist group. And I think that is something that needs to be stopped actually very urgently, or else we are actually going to see a new wave of the farmer-herder conflict, because this issue of the Lakurawa, there is the theory and the idea that they were invited, and when they came in, they actually did what they did with the support of the local pastoralists. And today, we've seen them also engaging and recruiting their own local informants that provide them with local and also village intelligence. So what is important now is to conduct a deeper threat analysis of this particular quote and unquote new group, because it is identified as a new group. But I feel a boy of 8, you can't call him a baby boy anymore. But the issue actually, and the fact also remains, that we need to have this idea of buying in and keying in of rural and the local communities over what we are doing, because a portion or a fraction of the local communities in the affected areas have no faith. I'm sorry to use the word issue of having no faith on the Nigerian security system or on the Nigerian states, simply because of the idea of this ungoverned and undergoverned spaces. So all we really need to do now is to go into a massive campaign, bringing back these communities, let them know the impact of what they are doing, let them also see the threats of this idea of creating a state within a state. Then looking at the kinetic approach, there is no way we are going to have a successful kinetic operations without the buying in of the locals. Because initially, these people were living in the forest, but we have seen them gradually pushing into communities. And the same terrorist group that we're talking about have this sense of the issue of the collateral damage. And on that basis, they get closer to communities, infuse into the communities, so as in an event of air raid and air strike, or the air warfare, for instance, they will increase the rate of the collateral damage. In other words, both kinetic and the non-kinetic approach needs to be harmonized and needs to be done concurrently. At the moment, what we need is intelligence. And for us to get this intelligence, in my opinion, we really need to go on the ground. We need to get the people that are directly involved, to get the names, the locations, as well as the nature and pattern of these activities. Our attention, just like I said earlier, is focused on Sokoto and Kebbi. But believe in me, the threat is far beyond these 10 LGAs that we talk about. Why is it an issue in these LGAs? Is because of the recent happenings. But I also have the belief that similar activities and the presence of this group, for instance, is actually going on in other places that is still unknown. So the sooner we identify the gravity of this threat, and we address it in the both kinetic and the non-kinetic manner, I think the better for us. And not only that, just like Dr. Kabir has actually mentioned, and other speakers, I feel what is important is getting the buy-in of our immediate neighbor, Niger Republic. Because communities along this border are now moving to pass their nights, sleep in their immediate neighbor in the Niger Republic. Simply because of what? Simply because of the threat of the Lakurawa. You see a kilometer difference between Nigerian side and Nigerian side. But on the Nigerian side, you trek down to Niger, you sleep there, you pass your night comfortably, and then if you come back to Nigeria, what do you see? You see the threats of this Lakurawa. In these communities, we've seen pockets of banditry. But the Lakurawa have succeeded in dealing with the bandits. But my major concern here is the dividing line between the Lakurawa and the bandit is very thin. In an event of aggressive military operations, that is within the kinetic context, we expect an alliance, we expect a collaboration, and we expect synergy between some of these bandits groups and also this terrorist group. More so, they share a lot of things in common in terms of language, in terms of operational strategy, in terms of even issues around sharing of intelligence. I think what is important in terms of the solution is now win the hearts and the minds of the locals, because there is no way we are going to succeed in the kinetic approach or operations without the locals. And then these locals are gradually becoming inclined and in support of this terrorist group, unless and until we deal with this issue, this division, this mistrust, this distrust, and the issue of misinformation and disinformation. I don't think we are going to get it right.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Rufai, for your submission there. So how, let's come back to Dr.
Right.
And use multilateral channels to make sure that pressure is put on that person who is arming these guys.
All right, Dr. Kabir Adam, thank you very much. Abuja Yaro retired. The final 2 minutes, your closing thoughts.
Thank you. It is imperative that implementation of some of the ideals we put across is urgent. We are into this because we want to contribute our own quota to national security development. And in as much as we take analytical perspectives with experiential background into discourse, it is important that the relevant policy organs of the state should take immediate action with respect to some of the issues we are canvassing. Because it is to the interest of all of us that we preserve our country, and it is important that without this country being at peace with itself, we individually cannot function.
All right.
We must take cognizance of the fact that this country was bequeathed to us by our forebearers in a complete and stable state. And during our own generational existence, we must add value to that tranquil state apparatus that we inherited. That's the much we can do
All right.
for our country at the moment.
AIG Abutu Yaro retired. Retired AIG Zone 13, former CP Edo, Zamfara, and Imo State CP Federal Operations Commander, Counter-Terrorism Training School, Port Harcourt. We thank you for your time and thoughts on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
Let me also thank Dr. Kabir Adamu, Security Risk Management Expert. Always a pleasure having you at the program. Thank you for your contributions.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you for having
And
me.
let's cross over to Jos, where we are joined by General John Temlong, First Commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force and former President, Alumni Association of National Defense College. Security consultant, you are also. We thank you very much for always finding time to join us and contributing on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
And by no means the least, let me thank Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai, Department of History and International Studies at the Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto. Thank you for bringing the fire. We appreciate your time and thoughts on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you very much for watching. Let's do this again tomorrow. I am Victor Azu.
And I am Ademola Ade. Be safe and enjoy the rest of your day.